Hello, hello, and welcome to the Global Dynasty YouTube channel. Y'all, Real Housewives of Potomac Season 7, Part 3 reunion. We need to get into it because I'm very disappointed that we wasted 90 minutes on this reunion, Part 3. We could have wrapped this up in Part 2, but let's just get into it from the beginning. Without further ado, the beginning part of the reunion starts out where it left off with Jacqueline versus Mia. The both of them continue to face off about their toxic friendship. Jacqueline is spilling the tea about Mia. I mean, when I tell you she's spilling the tea, she's telling about the business, how she lied about being close with her mother. Jacqueline is exposing it all. But what I find very interesting and weird is that Mia pulls out a bedazzled box with no receipts. Who does that? She has to be the first housewife in history to ever bring a prop and not use it. It's like she almost just doesn't understand how to be a housewife, and I'm confused. So I think that the thing that Mia was so upset about with Jacqueline is because she had knowledge of Gordon having prostate issues. So Gordon and Mia were not having sex on the regular. So when Jacqueline was like, "Oh, Mia, you just need some dick," that was it was some underlying shade. Like there was a story behind that. So that's why Mia pretty much explained that she's done with Jacqueline. And I will say, I give it to Jacqueline. Jacqueline ate and left no crumbs. When I tell you she had all the receipts for Mia, she shut her up. And Mia was like, okay, I'll give you that. Girl, you got to give it to her all because she just exposed you. So at the end, of course, all the ladies were just so invested and they wanted to know, is there any chance that you guys can reconcile? And they both agreed that they're not going to mend their friendship. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. Honestly, that was a part of Mia's storyline. So she might want to work on mending things with Jacqueline so she can have a storyline for next season. But that's just my opinion. Then Sharice joins the group, and we have a recap of her short stint on the show and her pointless beef with Karen. Andy asked Karen why she wasn't receptive to Sharice when she reached out during the death of her mother. And ultimately, honestly, Karen doesn't have a real reason for not liking Sharice. And I'm a Ladam all day, but I gotta keep it real. Throughout the entire reunion, honestly, Karen, she flopped. And it was so sad. And this is the first time this has ever happened, but she flopped tremendously. We find out that Karen has invited Sharice to events and she's denied it. And of course, production is always going to have receipts. And that's one thing the ladies have to remember. And we see text messages from Karen to Sharice inviting her to her 55th birthday and also another event. And the ladies try to call her out on it. Robin's jumping in. And I hate it because it's just like, Robin, mind your business. You already have enough going on. You don't need to jump in on this. Stop always continuously attacking Karen. You're just mad because she called Juan out on cheating. And that's it. And so during this segment, Andy also asked Mia about the rumors that she spread about Karen. Mia basically refuses to tell her source because it's a family member. And Karen, she gets pissed. She's like, no, you need to tell Andy who it is so I can sue them for defamation on my name, period. But of course, at this point, if y'all didn't know, Mia lies. And it's like she continuously lies. And it's not entertaining and it's not cute. And it's something that I don't think that we need to see next season. She could be a friend of at this point. And I know this segment was supposed to be about Sharice, but that's about it for her. And she cannot be on next season either. We don't need her as a friend of. She doesn't bring anything to the show. Her part in the reunion was very pointless. So we get to Robin's recap, and of course, Andy is Shady Boots, and he says, after 7 seasons and a 3-year engagement, you are finally married. And I cackled because it's all true. And we find out that Juan did sign a prenup, and they're splitting things 50-50, except for Robin's businesses if something was to happen. but there was no fidelity clause in their prenup. And Robin claims that she decided not to put the fidelity clause just in case it backfires on her if she was to ever step out on her marriage. But you know what? At this point, I don't have any words for Robin's situation. I really don't, because it's wearing me thin and I don't want to hear any more about it. And I hope we don't have to next season. I hope that this was her last season being a full time housewife, because nothing about her situation makes sense at all. But moving along to the situation with her and Karen, this is why I said that Karen flopped this season, because Karen's been talking real big about Juan having this girlfriend that has blonde hair that looks like her. For us to find out that this person is not real and she doesn't have any receipts, she doesn't have a picture on her phone, that she made it up because she was mad at Robin. And that is something that's just not like Karen to do. And I feel like you could have did better this entire season and this reunion, Karen. But moving along to the Copen State allegations, I did not expect Andy to bring that up. But he did, and he asked Robin. And of course, she has to be selective with her words because it's an ongoing investigation. But she says that the wrongdoings against Juan are not true. And I guess we'll have to see how things play out in this situation. If we, hear about it, not on the show, of course. So then we have the husbands hit the stage, and honestly, I was ready for this segment to happen and take place, specifically for Chris, because I was ready for him to confront Giselle. But Andy begins with Eddie, and he asks him how he feels about the allegations that are tossed around towards the other men, um, just like he was in that same situation. And he says it's unfortunate, which it is, because these men don't bother anyone, and they're not the people that Giselle portrays them to be. So it's good that they still remain positive through the allegations and all. Gordon also gets a little emotional, and he reflects how hard it's been to be a part of the show and have to record during those difficult times, especially during Mia's health scare. And I did not expect Gordon to get emotional, so we did get to experience a different side of him. He also lets us know that he has never been sexual with Jacqueline. So that also confirms how much Mia tried to force these weird storylines that just did not make any sense. And so Chris takes the floor. And he honestly says that he's shocked at what happened with Giselle, because he makes it clear those were never his intentions at all. And so he's an adult about the things that he lists that he's upset about. Giselle tries to interrupt him, and he's like, no, you've had your time to talk. You've done your interviews. It is my time to speak. And I don't blame him. He hasn't been able to come forward and tell his side. And so he explained the story top from bottom of, him asking her to have a conversation in the dressing room. He says that the door, was not open because he wanted to leave it open to ensure that no one got the wrong idea. And so throughout the whole conversation, the main thing that Chris wants to know is, what did he do exactly to make Giselle feel uncomfortable? She can't say it because the only thing that made her feel uncomfortable, she says that Chris was intoxicated and that made her feel uncomfortable, and she didn't want to be in a room with a married man. But he didn't do anything specifically, because she even admits that he asked, or she asked him to check to see what time they needed to go back, and he left the room immediately. So it wasn't one of those things where he tried to linger and tried to say, hey, I'll do that in a minute. No, he left her room when she asked him to. And one important factor in this whole entire situation, Chris did not grab Giselle's arm and make her go into the room. He did not put a gun to her head and say, you have to go into this room with me. Giselle willingly went into the room with Chris. And I'm not saying that her feelings are invalid of her saying that she feel uncomfortable, but if you're going to say that you feel uncomfortable, please explain why. You just saying that, that's not a good excuse. So she gives this half apology and she says, I'm sorry for saying that. And that's one thing that I cannot stand. If someone is going to feel remorseful about something that they did and wants to come clean and, make things right with the other person, be specific. Stand on what you said. I'm sorry for speaking ill towards your name and mixing the story up 15 different times and making you out to look like someone that you're not. That would have been a decent apology, but Giselle just saying, I'm sorry for doing that, that shows that she's really not apologetic to what she did. And so Candace is not buying it at all. And she brings up a valid point and she says a comment and she says that because of Giselle's white skin that she has, it makes it so comfortable for her to think that this is okay. And this is the reason why women do not come up and speak forward when sexual things actually do happen to them. And in a sense, I understood where she was coming from, but Wendy intervened and said, Candace, like, be mindful of what you're saying. It seemed like the whole cast was ganging up on Candace, and that's when the colorism topic came up again. And this is what frustrated me because you wasted the last 20 minutes on the reunion wanting to talk about a crazy night that they had at the strip club, all the crazy things that people do when they're drunk. You wanted to waste time on that when their main objective should have been making that colorism topic stick. Because it's not fair that the whole cast came down on Candace and told her, you need to fix your words and what you're saying, when that you don't understand. That's the colorism undertone that Candace is referring to when she speaks on how she feels. But in that very example, you could see that the cast just didn't understand, and that's why I say that this reunion disappointed me so much. And I really don't have much more to say about the reunion because that was really all that it had to give, and there was no substance. And I feel like reunions are meant for closure, and there are a lot of stuff that's pretty much still lingering that I don't understand. Like throughout the whole season, I don't know if anyone else picked up on this. Giselle and Wendy did not film together. Like a one on one personal conversation with them. They really didn't talk to each other the whole season, and it's just an excuse of Giselle saying, I don't like that woman. It's pretty clear to see that certain castmates just do not like each other. And I don't think that's healthy for the show. And I'm not saying that they can't like them, but we need a show where sisterhood is displayed, where we can have these rifts, but we get back together and we have moments where we all can chill and come together, where it's not where we have a conversation and the green eyed bandits against anyone else that doesn't have their bag. Like, I'm just tired of the high school games that these middle aged women play. But you guys let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts of the reunion? What would you rate this reunion on a scale 1 through 10, part 1 through 3? In my opinion, if I had to rate the entire reunion, and honestly, part 3 is the reason why the score dropped tremendously, I would give this reunion a 7.5 because I was not impressed with delivery of some of the answers of the ladies. I feel like they were just excuses in most of the situations, especially with certain cast members. When it comes to Giselle, there's a lot of foolery that happens. Andy sometimes doesn't really fully hold her accountable, but I will say on this reunion that he did hold her accountable on certain situations, especially the situation with Chris. It was sink or swim, and she sunk tremendously. And I can't say I'm not mad at it, but next season we need a cast switch up. it's needed, I think, out with the old and in with the new, right? Well, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.